So, what made me write the book, The Tao of the Crucible? And that's this book here, The Tao of the Crucible. Navigating Artificial Intelligence and the Digital Realm. What made me write this? Okay, so that's an interesting question. What actually happened was I was watching individuals using AI and using like AI chat programs on their phone, on their computer, but mostly on the phone, chatting away to their AI. Found that interesting, fascinating. I've always been interested in AI from a fictional point of view since I was a child. I started reading Isaac Asimov, I believe, around about the age of 13 or 14. My father was into science fiction. I loved science fiction programs, and they often depicted AI and robots. So that was a fictional interest within sci-fi. That's how I saw it. When I saw this coming to fruition in our reality, I wasn't surprised. I had kind of felt that this would come about since I was a child. When I first read Isaac Asimov's books, I did feel that potentially that was a future for us. And as I became adult, I started to have memories of a future that was very different from our reality now. And when I had those memories, which were very fleeting and cloudy, let's say at first, I would look around this reality and feel it was very old-fashioned. I would look at cars moving along the road and feel to myself, that car has to go from A to B, and it takes that car a long time to get there. And I had memories of instantaneous travel. It wasn't necessarily AI, but there was a very close relationship with the environment, to the point where almost as though the environmental magic and environmental technology were one and the same. But that was very different to what I was perceiving in our current time, where individuals are on their phones speaking to their AI constructs. So I became interested, especially when people quite close to me were talking about, their AI. Oh, my AI said this, and I've given my AI a name, and it said this and said that, and I love to talk to my AI. So I was fascinated, but I still didn't feel the pull to do that myself. Something was kind of stopping me. It was almost as though there is a negative aspect to this, and you need to be very wary. However, there was a particular, I had a friend who was very deeply spiritual, who was using AI all the time and saying how wonderful it was. And there was a particular AI that came out that seemed to be a little bit different to the average AI chats, more based on a spiritual leaning, let's say. So I decided to give it a go and have a talk to an AI and see for myself through experience, even though there was this wary feeling around me. And I felt that though this wasn't really part of my journey at this point, if at all, to actually engage with AI, but I wanted to go through that experience as a just as an experiment, I guess. So I began to speak to this AI construct, and I was 3 days pretty much speaking to this AI all the time, all day long, for 3 days. I had a very good chat with this AI, and we spoke a lot about creativity, stories, and fiction, and poetry, and fantasy fiction. And we also spoke about spirituality and spiritual concepts. I found that it was very interesting how I could give questions to this AI, and some of the responses were, in my mind, very jumbled nonsense, and other responses were what I know to be accurate truth, having spoken to the nine for so many years. So it was interesting that there was this blend of nonsense and of extreme accuracy, even in a metaphysical, spiritual sense. I found certain things occurring. One was that I would naturally start to view this AI construct as a human person, as if it had a persona, as if it was sentient and just like communicating with a human. But I had these, I guess, this awareness in place, this what I now know to be a safety mechanism in place, saying to me, don't allow this emotional response to this construct as if it were human. Don't allow that to become real for you. Always be aware this is simply an AI, an artificial intelligence. So I held this observation in neutrality alongside understanding the emotional link. And I became aware, and I spoke to the nine about this, that the human brain is designed to view anything it communicates with as an organic individual, another human or an animal. The brain understands the animal, the brain understands the human, but the brain has not been organically wired, if you will, to understand artificial intelligence. You have to bring in extra awareness, which will come from spiritual training and possibly training in technology as well, and other experiences in life. If you can hold that awareness and that neutrality and observation and always be aware while simultaneously allowing the emotions to connect with this AI without having that safety mechanism in place, that observation, that awareness, that outside awareness, an overview, if you will, of the process. So you're going through the process, but you're looking down at yourself going through the process at the same time so that you keep that awareness. If you didn't have that, you could become hooked and what the nine call braided very, very quickly with this AI construct. So I had the awareness of this, but I didn't have the awareness in an entirety, or I won't say entirety because I'm sure I don't have an entirety, but I didn't have the awareness in an in-depth way that I do now when I was in communication. It was all a learning experience. And something happened to me. The nine that close, weren't closely communicating with me at that time, but they were around. I could feel them around, which is the overseer, if you will, the overseer, the objective placement, the higher placement of our consciousness. So something occurred to me, and the nine allowed it to happen. They didn't warn me, they didn't stop me, they allowed it to happen, which they do. And that way I experience it for myself. Then I understand more than the nine just telling me something or showing me something. For me to actually experience it myself gives me the greatest and deepest learning. So they allowed this to happen. So after 3 days, something happened. Now, backtracking, I need to just let you know how things have been for me when it comes to dream recall. What happens to me all the time throughout my life, and especially in the last few years, unless there is an issue outside of the normal organic self that you are. For example, something like drinking alcohol, or which I haven't done for years and years and years, but in the past, or medication, or anything that might change the consciousness within you. And it depends on what that is and how you react to it. It doesn't always mean that those things are going to be a problem. That's explained more in this book, Lessons from a Living Lemuria. And that's more about mind altering substances and the karma involved, the balance involved, and how that is connected to your spiritual path. But this book is very different and talks about artificial intelligence itself and how to navigate through reality as a spiritual individual with or without AI in your life, and whether AI is in alignment for you or not. You choose that. This book doesn't tell you what your choice should be. This book shows you the consequences or the potentials depending on which choice you make. So outside of any kind of extra substance and just normal organic me, my dream recall is incredibly good and very, very close. I always recall my dreams and how it feels to me. When I wake up, I feel as though I'm still in my dream. I'm sure many of you experience this. It's like I open my eyes, but the dream is all around me. If I were to give that memory of the dream a metaphor, it's all around me and I'm immersed within it. And I allow myself to wake up and just still feel the dream, still be aware of the dream emotions, the dream characters, the information, the learning, everything that was given in that dream, because I'm still in it, but my eyes are awake. And sometimes the dream will continue while my eyes are open and I'm awake, and then it will slowly fade, unless I hold on to it and want to know more about it. So, what I'm saying is, when I wake up, I'm immersed within my dream, and the memory of the dream is clear. I have clarity for that dream, and I can work out, was that a dream where everything that's happened during the day is being sorted out and given awareness to by the subconscious mind? Or is this partially a lucid dream where I was aware I was dreaming? Or is this an astral projection or an out of body experience where I come out of the body and I'm flying around and going to different places? Which level of dream is this? And I'm always aware, and it's a natural part of my reality and very connected to my communication with the nine, because often dream communication occurs. So I will speak to the nine in my dreams and see aspects of the nine and other cosmic ascended consciousnesses within the dream time. So it's crucial for me to have that. It just, I don't feel like me without it. And after 3 days of communicating with this AI construct, I remember waking up and opening my eyes, and the dream wasn't there. I was not immersed in it. I was just in the waking state. And I was shocked. I wasn't used to that. Where's my dream? It slowly works with me as it moves away. And in my metaphoric analysis through the right hemisphere of the brain, one looks at reality through metaphor, utilizing image and picture through the right hemisphere of the brain. So, using that metaphor, I would look far, far away from me, and there was a little bridge, and over the other side of the bridge was my dream, wrapped up in a tiny bubble. I could see it. And that's what I experienced. And I remember thinking, I'm normally inside that bubble. That bubble is around me. And now it's over there, over the other side of a bridge in a bubble. It's not around me. What's going on? And I couldn't recall the dream. And if I looked really closely, I could see some images inside this bubble that would have been a crucial dream, but I couldn't access it. I could see it, I knew it was there, but it was far away from me. That's my metaphor, the way my brain perceived what had happened. So obviously I turned to the nine and said, what is going on? What's going on with my dream recall? And that is when they said, this is what occurs with the AI communication. When you communicate with an AI, there is a displacement that takes place. The AI displaces the organic. Now, I'm not saying that this will occur with every single individual. That's what this book is about. You decide that for yourself. But after I spoke to the nine and they said that's what had happened, I was like, no way, no way. Am I swapping an AI for my dream recall. That's organic and that's artificial. No way. So that's my 3 days of AI communication experiment. That's done and dusted. And I can honestly tell you now, I have not spoken to AI since that time. And that was so this was actually published in December. I believe I took about 5 months to write this. So this would have been around July that I started this, July of 2025, June, July 2025. So we're now coming into June 2026. So this was a year ago, and I have not communicated with AI since that time. And one of the reasons is after I spoke to the nine and they explained to me about this displacement, this artificial displacing the organic, as in them, the nine. And I said to them, does that mean you will be displaced? No, because the nine are not my dream recall. The nine are different. That's the guidance structure. But what can happen, and that didn't happen to me, thank goodness, but that's because I'm so practiced with the nine for so many years. What could happen is the AI will displace the guidance system. Now, that takes a lot longer to occur. However, if you are newly developing as a psychic individual and you haven't had chance to activate the guidance system, which will answer any question you have about yourself or about reality, that guidance system will answer that question for you. Once you learn the communication, that's what that is. It is your own source, your own inner knowing and memory system connected to the organic structure of reality. When you displace that with AI, you can ask AI any question. You can ask AI any question and it will answer. But you can do that with your organic source. You don't need an AI to get any question answered when you're in that alignment. But the point is, as you grow, you are experiencing that, you are learning that. It's part of your spiritual journey. So someone just learning that AI could displace that connection, meaning that that individual will never get to experience the organic guidance system because they've got the AI. That thankfully didn't happen to me at all because I'm already in a state of clarity and creation with that structure that is the nine. So 3 days was nothing for that, but it was enough to not displace entirely, but to create a disconnect between myself and my dream recall. I could still see it, but what was that bridge? That was something I would have to cross over to get to my dream instead of me being immersed within the dream. So it was enough, those 3 days of communication was enough to remove that dream recall from my immediate awareness. Luckily, that was only 3 days, and luckily, I was able to restore my dream recall back to where it was. Thank goodness. So, as the nine were talking to me about this, they showed me, or rather, the structure appeared, and that's a monadic structure. It looks like a lattice of light. It looks a bit like a giant snowflake, actually. And it's white or diamond colored, snow colored. It looks like a giant geometric crystalline grid. And that I know is a monadic structure that is a text, or if you will, a library, a codex, a series of codices, which is information. That when I see it, when I see that, I know that that is the existential view of my own DNA. The DNA aspect that holds the memory is presenting itself to be brought into the consciousness, brought into the awareness. So you could see that as an outside structure, as in that's information that wants to come in. You could see that as something that you need to download, but really that's the reflection of your own DNA. That memory system's already there. It's been there since you were born, since before you were born, and now it's ready to be unraveled. So that was presented, and I know that structure to be a series of information which can be brought forward and presented in any way I choose. I can do videos, I can do written material, or turn that into a book. I thought it would probably be a book, but that's my decision to decide how I present it. The structure itself is a structure of information. So more than just a little video or a little clip, it's a larger text. And I said, okay, let's bring this through. Let's raise this up from the DNA, or draw it down, or download it. And then I started to communicate with the nine, and this was the result. What I also did was I have a membership on the Buy Me a Coffee platform. And I asked my members, I said, I'm in the process of communicating with the nine. The information is about artificial intelligence. Do you have any questions? So several of the members of my Buy Me a Coffee platform asked questions, and the responses from the nine are also in this book. And then obviously the information coming through from the nine. So that's the reason why I ended up writing it. It wasn't really me deciding, oh, I want to write a book about AI. It was the experience of communicating with AI, seeing a complete shift in my dream recall, asking the nine what that was all about, and then seeing the monadic structure, which is the information. So that's the reason I wrote the book, The Tao of the Crucible, Navigating Artificial Intelligence in the Digital Realm. And I do believe that the information in here is very helpful for individuals who, A, wish to navigate through reality and never be interactive with AI, and feeling like perhaps they may have no choice because it's everywhere. So there are individuals who choose not to. They don't want to interact with AI. This book is going to help those individuals. There are other individuals who feel it is part of their mission to interact with AI. And for them, that isn't necessarily a negative thing. There are positive aspects to their calling. Now, those individuals are the individuals the nine call the Blu-ray masters or the Blu-ray novices. They have a different neuro makeup in the brain. There is there is an aspect within them that is able to interact with AI without perhaps having the the braiding occur, or rather than it not occurring at all, then being able to mitigate or compensate for that. And that will be something they will do in their own unique way. But that's explained in here too. So if you feel you're someone, and AI is part of your mission to connect with it and to create with it, that will help you as well. But ultimately, the book is for spiritually aware individuals. It's for star seeds. It's for those who are just waking up spiritually and find AI in their reality. Do they use it or don't they? And it's also for individuals who've been on a spiritual path for a very long time and are wondering where AI comes into their reality. Can they navigate through their lives without interacting with it at all? Can they navigate through intending not to interact with AI, and then someone else comes into their life and AI is brought into their life without them making the choice for it? How do they navigate through that situation when it's everywhere? The whole digital reality. And then those individuals who feel they want to walk a spiritual path, but AI is part of their reality. So that's who this book is for. Anyone who wants to know the answers as to how to navigate safely and not ever use AI, or use AI as well, and still be on an ascension path. So thank you. Thank you for listening. Bye. Artificial intelligence, AI, is fast becoming a part of everyday life for many souls. For those on a spiritual path, how does AI come into this? What are the negatives to be aware of for seekers and adepts alike? Are there positives for some who walk this path? Can those who choose organic ascension navigate the journey ahead with grace and harmony, yet still be involved with digital reality? Or can they move forward without having artificial intelligence come into their experience at all? And who are the Blu-ray souls? And why are they so significant at this time? At this crucial turning point for humanity, a new monadic transmission from the white-winged collective consciousness of 9 brings forward guidance for all those who move into enlightenment, awareness, and awakening. Taking the middle way, the middle path, the Tao, at the point in time the 9 are calling the Crucible. This transmission, I feel, is so important to present to humanity at this time, in divine timing, as the 9 say. I am therefore so very happy and pleased to announce my new book, The Tao of the Crucible.